What's up, everyone? In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at some of the best setups in the market right now and the most important news you need to know about. The market's at a very weird point right now where it's weak, but it's definitely not going down without a fight, as we can all see. So Tom, looking at the market today, technically we finished in the red, but intraday the market popped up, and looking at the heat map, it was pretty mixed. Like, we saw a lot of red out of, bank stocks still, and even some energy stocks like ExxonMobil and Chevron, but some of these big tech stocks like Microsoft, Google, Meta, and Amazon, and even Apple held up quite a bit.
Yeah, they did. That was a pretty big day, I'd say, for the market overall. If we actually go a little bit more in depth here on the SPY, you can see it actually gapped down early on with some bad news from Credit Suisse. One of their biggest one of their highest, pretty much like their backer backed out, and it's a pretty huge Saudi company here. This is actually pretty bad. They ruled out any further assistance, and they're not going to back the bank anymore. So that's pretty rough, Mike. Now, I did see some news come in where they said that a Swiss bank, a Swiss national bank, will actually provide Credit Suisse with liquidity if necessary. So that is good for them. But I will say that was terrible this morning. If we go to CS's chart, it had a humongous gap down. They closed yesterday around $2.50, and they opened today all the way down around $1.80. So terrible move from them. That really dragged the market down early on. But as the day went, some of these stocks started exploding, like Netflix, for example, actually ended up in the green by over 3%. AMD was up 2.55%, really flying up. Meta had another fantastic day, coming off of yesterday, all the way up to almost 200 here, up to 198. So we did have a lot of stocks moving up. But the big news this morning was really that Credit Suisse news, and it caused a lot of fear to pop back into the market. And we even saw gold pop up a lot this morning too.
Exactly. So looking at the market right now, it's like a giant shit show, to be honest. Like, you have the market kind of going up, kind of going down, but you have some stocks like Tom just mentioned a minute ago, like Meta, that is blasting to the upside and it's exploding, and there's a bunch of positive momentum. But then we have other areas of the market, like, some of these regional bank stocks, or just, bank stocks in general, that are getting demolished, right? I would say regional banks, or if you look at the ETF KRE, is getting hit the hardest. There's a lot of selling pressure going on in this industry right now, and if you look at a couple individual banks like Credit Suisse, they got destroyed, as Tom just said. But it's just a giant mess right now, just to be honest. Like, there's a lot of crazy things going on all at once. But I want to dive just a little bit deeper on, this financial industry, like these bank stocks. What's very interesting is we have, of course, some banks struggling a lot more than others. But if we look at some of like the most powerful banks right now, like maybe Bank of America or JP Morgan or something like that, these banks are actually in a different position than some of these smaller banks, in the sense of we're actually seeing a lot of inflows go into some of these powerhouse banks like JP Morgan or Bank of America, because people are scared of the small banks right now. So we can see from this headline from Market Watch, it's apparently raining money on Bank of America. Inflows of over $15 billion are reportedly seen amid the SVB fallout. We're basically seeing people scared of having their money in some of these smaller, quote unquote, smaller banks, and they're scared of a bank run, so they're pulling money out of those banks and actually putting them into some of these powerhouse banks like Bank of America or Chase, and we're just having like a weird dynamic here.
Yeah, we really are. It's kind of strange because I know a lot of people are getting really scared right now, and it's not just even like people who trade stocks. I've actually had people who never even touch the stock market or ever talk about it come up to me and say, hey, how do you feel right now about these banks? Should I take my money out of the banks? What should I do? Some people are even talking about buying gold and stuff like that. And, all I can say is, obviously do your own research and stuff like that. I don't think taking money out of banks is a very good idea, but obviously it's scary to have your banks or to have your money into some banks that might fail, like Credit Suisse, for example, or FRC. FRC has been having some pretty bad movement the past couple weeks as well. So I don't know. It's a very scary time. It's almost like a black swan event going on right now. And what I'm worried about is just pretty much what happened with Credit Suisse and with some of these other banks. I'm worried about this continuing to snowball and just happen over the next couple of weeks, where we just keep getting bad news after bad news. And it should maybe be good for some of these stocks like gold, UVXY, and some of these stocks that maybe do better whenever the market drops. But it's just such a crazy time, Mike. I'm praying for everybody involved, and hopefully, too many people don't end up getting hurt from this overall situation.
Well, you see, the thing is, Tom, as we both know, basically everyone is involved in one way or another. When you have banks collapsing, that has giant ripple effects, not only in just the stock market, but the economy overall, as we both know. And what I want to go a little bit deeper on what you just said is, in times of, let's say, fear or uncertainty, what is the smart move, right? Over the past week or so, we've seen a lot of money go into gold, silver, and just other like safe haven assets, So if you look at like GLD, that's a pretty good, gold ETF, or like SLV, that's a good silver ETF. But there's also been a lot of money flowing into like US Treasuries. So if you look at TLT, that has been booming over like the past week or so, as it's like it's a safe haven, like the US Treasury, the US government is most likely not going to default, and if they do, we're probably going to have worse problems to worry about than the stock market.
Yeah, exactly. I've heard a lot of talks about that default too, and I've heard a lot of people actually talking about potentially the Feds actually, going ahead and raising the debt ceiling, or obviously not the Feds, Congress raising the debt ceiling or something like that. That could end up even playing a role into the markets over the next month or two as well, if that news ends up coming out. But I'm actually really surprised to see TLT doing what it is, Mike. It makes sense with it being a safe haven. But whenever we go look at like rates over the past, few months, they've been really flying up. And I'm surprised that as the market fell down with some of these banks, that the 2-year yield, for example, and some of these other yields fell off as rapidly as they did. I kind of expected them to pop up, but it makes a lot of sense with it being a safe haven, and people are going to jump into that obviously whenever they're scared of some of these stocks and just other dynamics out there. And it's not even just stocks. I mean, people have to be worried about everything out there right now, like steel prices, stocks, car prices. I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff out there affecting the market. And I know even car loans are talked about a lot right now too.
Yeah. All right. So looking at the market right now, Tom, and just, some short-term price action. Yesterday you mentioned we have a couple more earnings on the schedule for the week. What do we have to look out for?
Yeah, there's some pretty big ones. So Adobe reported tonight. They're actually up a little bit in after hours right now. Tomorrow, we're going to have FedEx and Meta Materials report in after hours along with Playboy. So watch out for those stocks. I think FedEx is going to be huge to watch for tomorrow. Dollar General, or DG, will be pretty good before open. That's a pretty big stock as well right now with inflation as high as it is. So keep your eyes on that. I will say Friday, XPeng or XPEV could be a pretty good Chinese EV stock to watch for as well. But FedEx is going to be huge. And looking at Adobe tonight, Mike, it's having quite the pop, at least for right now.
Yeah, good stuff. All right, Tom. So now I want to talk a little bit more about some setups for tomorrow. Yesterday I talked about UVXY quite a bit, and it actually popped up a decent amount today. UVXY is one of those stocks / ETFs where it's like, when everyone's panicking, this is a good place to be because it is a volatility ETF. So as the market gets crazy, this thing explodes to the upside. With that being said, it's not something you want to hold long term because it does decay and you'll get clobbered if you do that. But UVXY, even though it's up 11% today, it still has more room to go up in the event the market pressure / downwards momentum continues to stay where it is. As long as there's more panic, as long as that we still have problems with, in real risks in the financial sector, UVXY is a good play. So going into tomorrow and the next couple of weeks or so, I will definitely be looking at UVXY to the upside. With that being said, you have to use, I guess you could say common sense when it's played. So for example, if we wake up tomorrow and the market's up 2% in pre-market and there's amazing news that came out, you don't want to be playing UVXY. But if there's panic and there's selling pressure, UVXY is a great spot to be.
Yeah, I think UVXY is amazing. It was actually your free day trade this morning in the Discord as well. So that ended up exploding there. And yeah, it was just an amazing play overall. So kudos to you, Mike. I know UVXY is awesome whenever the market goes down and stuff like that. So keep it on the radar. One of my favorites for tomorrow, Mike, is actually a stock to the upside, which is Nvidia. Now, I will say I will actually watch this to the downside a little bit as well, but the upside is going to be the main thing I'm watching here. So the SPY had that big move up at the end of day, and we kind of had that big hold of that lower support level or the lower area of this range. And if we start to maybe move up above 390 and run up towards maybe 393 or 394, I think that Nvidia will start to get a pretty good breakout here up above 243 or 244. So I'm really watching for a big breakout potentially on Nvidia. Now, kind of like you said, Mike, if the market starts tanking down tomorrow and Nvidia starts falling under 240 in pre-market or 240 after the market opens or something, maybe going after puts could be a good idea there. And I think it actually could be, because I think Nvidia is pretty overbought in the short term. But if we get the big breakout tomorrow, I think there is some potential up too.
All right, good stuff. Another stock I'm watching pretty closely is TLT, and it is to the upside. But what's interesting about TLT is it kind of just does whatever it wants. This has been moving independently from the market and basically every other industry in the short term. Basically, this has been popping to the upside because people are buying treasuries because they are scared of what's going on in the financial system right now, especially with some of these other bank stocks and just stuff like that. That's why we're seeing treasury rates fall, and that's why we're seeing like gold prices rise. It's because people are scared and they're buying treasuries, gold, and just other safe haven assets. So I'm watching TLT to the upside over the next day and the next couple weeks. There's a lot of buying pressure just going into this type of asset right now.
Yeah, there really is. And I'll say that daily chart of TLT is something else, Mike. Like, as rates were flying up over the past few years, I mean, TLT got destroyed in a huge, huge way. And, at some point, we're going to start coming back up. And it seems like as of right now, I know TLT isn't necessarily the best thing for like technical setups, but, there's some nice double bottoms going on here, running up into resistance. We might get some pretty big breaks back up. So I really like it. It's a very big outlier for me. Like you said, it's pretty awesome because it's not really following the overall market, more as there's a lot of fear right now, I would say, like kind of like leading the price action on TLT, gold, and some of those other stocks. My second play is going to be Amazon, actually, and this is going to be another scalp play to the upside. Now, this play is not going to be anything too huge, but I think that there's definitely potential here for a decent breakout tomorrow. Now, for all the day traders out there, there's a big overhead resistance around 97 on Amazon. If we start to pop above 97, I think that we can have a pretty good move up to 98 and then maybe hit 99 to 100 tomorrow morning. So if we start to break 97 and the market starts ripping back up to the top of its range, I'll definitely be watching this for a potential breakout. Now, it could, kind of like Nvidia, hit this resistance and fail and start to tumble back down, but I'll really be watching for that break, and hopefully we get it, in the sense that, then the overall market will be doing a little bit better, at least with all these banks going crazy.
Good stuff. Well, Tom, you know what time it is. Momentum plays. With the first one, we actually have Zoom to the upside.
Yeah, ZM, I love this one as well. Again, running right up into resistance like a lot of stocks were today. Go ahead and make them break out above 71.20.
All right, with the next one, we have Starbucks, but this one's to the downside.
Yeah, S-Bucks, or as some people in the Discord call it, pumpkin spice. Yeah, they had a pretty good recovery end of day. If they reject at 99.40, watch for a push back down. And I would say if they fall under 98.80, that would be a pretty safe area as like a support to watch for us to break through.
Alrighty, and then with the last one, we have JP Morgan to the downside.
JPM, yeah, we have to trade this one down. It's actually breaking below a huge range recently, which is awesome. If they get below 127, watch for more puts tomorrow. And I will say that daily chart of JP Morgan is something else. Like they were definitely overextended short term, so this downtrend is kind of fitting, actually.
Good stuff. So we're watching JP Morgan and Starbucks for potential day trades to the downside tomorrow, only if they break below those lower levels. We also have Zoom on watch to the upside, only if it breaks above that upside level. But it is now time for the big money trade of the day. We had $470,000 that went into HES. So more specifically, $470,000 went into the HES 115 strike put options that expire on April 21st of 2023. For those of you who don't trade options, this is essentially a bet that this stock will fall down. The lower it goes, the more money that this trader will make. Looking at this trade, it's nearly $500,000. It has a little bit over a month's worth of time. HES has been tanking down quite a bit over the past couple of weeks. HES is in the energy industry, and a lot of those stocks have been falling as well. So overall, I don't think it's a bad setup. It's not necessarily the craziest setup I've ever seen. It's around $500,000, which is a lot of money, but not too much money for like an insider or for a big money trade. But overall, like I said, not a bad setup.
Yeah, and I like it that the strike is pretty close to the money. We actually ran under 115 at one point today. So hopefully as the next couple days go on, this stock continues to sell off in a major way. I will say, Mike, this one has some pretty big gaps to the downside. And, like you said, energy's been doing very, very well lately. And, to see some of these stocks pulling back isn't very surprising to me, whether it's HES or whether it's ZOM or whether it's Oxy. They all were actually pretty dang overextended there in the short term. So I do like HES down, and I think that that's a really good strike, which I like quite a bit. And Mike, we've been going over some of these big money plays again lately, and man, they've been doing pretty well. There was even a big money play on a bank recently and ended up working out perfectly.
Yeah, Deutsche Bank, DB, that was a pretty good one.
Yeah, DB, that's it. Yeah, that's awesome, Mike. I'll say some of these big money plays lately have been working out so well, but it was the 12 strike puts that they entered February 10th. Now, it wasn't a perfect entry. If we look here, they entered whenever DB was kind of falling down to this support around 12. It did end up popping up for a few days there, but man, they caught that big move down here, Mike, and I will say they're probably up a couple million right now. So they're sitting pretty. That was an amazing play there. And, keep your eyes on HES. Some of these energy plays are really tanking down, and this could end up moving in a pretty big way like some of these other plays have recently.
Boom. There we go. So, Tom, going into tomorrow, we still have all this craziness going on in the market. Some areas of the market are freaking out. Some areas of the market are actually holding up in a pretty good way. Do you have any last-minute thoughts or anything else you're watching before we close out?
Yeah, I'm really watching tech for a possible breakout tomorrow. I mean, it's weird to say with stocks going down, but it was just so weird, like you said, how the market, there was just so many different aspects today, and all of the sectors were different. Obviously tech did well. Energy ended up falling down a little bit, but it's very mixed right now. Just keep your eyes on some of those breakouts that we talked about tonight, like NVIDIA, and watch UVXY and TLT. Those are some pretty big stocks as well, especially right now. They've been getting a lot of volatility and a lot of price action. So I don't know, Mike. It seems like the SPY's stuck in this range here. I'm really hoping that we can break it soon, but I don't know. It looks like heading into the end of the week, like we might end up staying in here, at least for tomorrow.
Good stuff. Last but not least, we want to say if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. When you subscribe, you'll see our videos recommended to you more often. So definitely subscribe if you haven't already. And we also want to give a giant shout out to today's member of the day, Fish. You've been in the Discord for over 2.5 years now, and it's awesome to see your activity has been increasing lately. So definitely make sure to keep it up, and huge shout out to you. Besides that, let's have an amazing rest of the week.